Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview, this time covering First Stand 2025. For this occasion, I'm here accompanied by Targamas of Karmine Corp, one of the teams that I'll be, or a member of one of the teams that will be taking part in said competition. This time, representing Karmine Corp, the recent winter split champions in the LEC. And so, Targamas, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to do this interview. I mean, and first and foremost, I gotta ask you, like, what is Carmine Corp doing here? I mean, like looking at how this team has kind of been faring from like the end of last year. I mean, not many would expect for this team to do so well, especially at the start of the year. But to see you guys in Korea, I mean, simple question: how are you guys even here?
Yeah, for sure, it's pretty surprising. I think even for us, it's something we didn't expect. Like, of course, we had very high hopes for this team. I think since the beginning, everyone already knew that we were going to be a good team. At least, like that was the expectations, right? And that we wanted to be a title contender in Europe, right? But I think it was a surprise also for us to be like already the best team in winter, right? Since we had Callis coming in for splits, and we also had like the jungle change. Um, we thought it would take us a little more time, I think, to be the best team. But I'm very happy that in fact we managed to do it also like this early, and yeah, I'm really glad to be here with the team.
I think you already said it right then and there, in your first answer, but I'm gonna have to ask this question anyways. I mean, were you kind of surprised that this team would actually do so well, especially at the start of the year, given the changes that they underwent within the team, both within and also outside? In other words, like focusing on the game.
Yeah, for sure. I think, as I said, we had pretty high expectations. I wouldn't say that I'm surprised that we won, because from scrims, like even very early on, like in December when we started like very early, like the practice, like earlier than most of the teams, right? Since we had like some show match, so the KCX, I mean that was the previous team, but we also had like the COI game and everything. So we started practicing like very early compared to the other teams, and the practice was going very well since the beginning, right? So we knew that the teams that we would need to beat in order to be the the champions were like Fnatic and G2, and we were always like doing pretty fine or decent against them in scrims, right? It's like teams that we would beat, which was like very different from last year. Like in summer, we would not be able to take much games out of G2 and Fnatic, so I felt like we were not like good enough to win in the last summer. But these splits, I felt like we could do it right, and I'm very glad that we did in the end.
I mean, for sure. I mean, this team will not be able to do as well as you guys have been doing so far this year. Had it not been for the inclusion of those new members within the squad. Obviously, I'm looking at the likes of Yike and Khalees. Well, technically Khalees because you already played with him like a few years before, but nevertheless, it kind of feels like with their inclusion also with the likes of like Vladdy and stuff like that. Carmine Core has just been having to turn over a new leaf before the better. I mean, talk to me about like the inclusion of Yike and Khaleesi, because like obviously like Khaleesi is a different a man, obviously from like the past times in which you played with him back in tier two. But what changes have you been seeing within him, and also what kind of effects has Yike brought to the team, given his like past experience, being on top, competing in the top levels of LEC and also internationals.
Yeah, I think Carlis he brings like a lot of talent. First of all, like he's one of the most talented player we've had in Europe those past years, right? I think everyone can see it, and also a lot of like dedication towards the game, a lot of um, just like fresh, like it's just like a fresh player that has a fresh view on the game, so it always helps. in the team, right? I think for his age, he's also very mature and very has a lot of knowledge because he just puts in a lot of effort in learning the game and watching the games like in the other regions and everything, right? And he's also someone that seeks for improvement, right? So I think he just brings a lot to the team, and then for Yike, I mean, I think he's just a winner, right? There's no coincidence that he won literally every LEC finals he played in. Of course, he was in G2, and people will always say, "Oh yeah, G2 is like it's easier to win in G2 and stuff, right?" But the
Mhm.
split he showed that there's no coincidence, right? He comes in a new team and he wins again. I just think his performance, like especially towards like the later games, like the playoff games and the more tense games, like are outstanding. I think compared to the other junglers, right? I think, for example, the likes of Razork have like very good regular season often, but they play a bit worse in playoff. And I think for Yak, it's like the opposite. He just pops up in the playoff games, and he just plays so good and brings so much like positivity to the team. Um, he's also someone that will always like make sure everyone is doing good in the games. So yeah, just been a very pleasant experience to play with them.
And I think it's also, I would say, a pleasant experience looking at you return to the international stage. I mean, you got to look at like more than 3 years since like the last time you appeared in an international setting. That being MSI 2022, in which actually happened in Korea. And so, I mean, how do you kind of look back on that experience and with that thought in mind, given now you've returned to Korea, just having to go through various twists and turns in your career, leaving G2, going to KC, all of that, going to XL, how do you kind of look at that experience and comparing that to now?
I just feel very grateful, first of all, to be here. Like after such a long time, I think it's like such a hard thing to do usually. Um, when you've been at the top at some point and then you go through years of like not having the results and even worse like having very bad results in my case, right? It's like so hard to come back on the top, and I'm very grateful that I've like had the opportunity to do so in KC, right? um and then yeah, as you said, the last time I played international was with G2, the MSI and the Worlds, which especially Worlds, I was very unhappy with my performance. I think I've played like there's one game that is literally like my worst game in my career, and I think it will stay like that forever, right? The game against EG. So I feel like I have like a lot of things to prove uh, to everyone, but also more to myself, that I can actually compete at an international tournament, right? I think I've grown a lot in the past years, like all those tough situations, like in Excel, in KC last year. I think those hard times, they helped me grow a lot, like as a human, as a player. Like I think I'm not the same player, teammate, human as I was in G2 3 years ago, and I'm excited to see how I will do against the other teams in international.
More like a personal view towards that competition, or more so like a shot at redemption. Would that be like the fair kind of assessment of how you view the journey for this competition?
Um, yeah, I mean, I think this competition is like a first step. Obviously, we are gonna play against I mean, the best team in the world, right? That at least as of now. Also, we come in with like very little time. We are like the last region that's ended like that had their finals, right? Where like 4 days ago we were still in Europe playing our finals, whereas the other team had like more time to prepare for the tournament. So of course we have like very little time, and we also have like two players that is their first time playing the tournament. For me, I can't be considered like as a veteran in terms of international since I only played two, and it was like a while ago, right? So
Mm.
I think this is like a first step for us. It was like very important for us to qualify here because we have high expectations for the rest of the year, right? Not only in Europe but also internationally. So I think this is going to be like a very valuable experience for us as an organization because yeah, it's the first time we appear here. So we have a lot of things to learn, to see, and no matter what happens, it's gonna be like we have to do a good job at taking away what we can, like learning the lessons and everything. And yeah, I mean, I'm still looking forward to play the games and to compete because there are only five teams here, and right now we have no idea where we kind of match in terms of level compared to the other teams. Obviously, Europe has been like kind of weak in the past years,
Mhm.
but I'm excited to see how we can match against the other teams.
Of course, wonderful answer. Really do appreciate you giving me all of the in-depth stuff to each of the questions that I gave you. I really do appreciate that, Targamas. I really can't thank you enough once again for doing this interview. Really do appreciate it. And of course, I got to give you the best of luck for yourself and the rest of KC once first stand does kick off. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.